Right. So, yeah. So, but my mind goes straight to sports like boxing right now.
Yeah.
So there is big fight coming up in the UK between Chris Eubank, Conor Benn. There's massive conversation around rehydration clauses. There's conversation around mass, the size difference in the athletes. Do you know much about rehydration clauses or what they are and how they function?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're considering those two fighters, they come from different weights, right? So the um the the thing that boxers obviously do quite often is they will lose weight to make the weight they need to be for the weigh-in, and then the weight they'll be at competition is completely different. It may be 10% or more greater than it was at the time of weigh-in. And so I guess, and there's different rules for different organizations. If you go across boxing or other combat sports as well, all the Olympic ones and other professional sports like mixed martial arts, the rules are different between different organizations. And so I guess the way I see a rehydration clause is it's trying to prevent too much acute dehydration, and trying to guarantee that the natural body weight of the athletes are slightly closer. And it's normally the case when you see athletes competing against each other when they've traditionally been at slightly different weights. So yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. is a slightly heavier fighter typically than Conor Benn. So that could bring advantages, although the science doesn't suggest for a sport like boxing there are overt advantages of being slightly heavier. But yeah, that's one of the reasons.
And that weigh-in to then the actual fight is usually 24 hours. And so how much of the rehydration that can happen after a boxer has gone through their phase of dehydration, how can they regain what has potentially been lost from a performance point of view within that 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the reasons that they lose weight, it's not entirely dehydration. So a portion of that weight loss will be dehydration. They'll also lose muscle glycogen and associated water. They may use strategies that reduce the weight of their GI contents. So, for example, if you have a low food intake, you will continue to excrete the food that went in previously, but you won't be putting it back into the GI tract. So you can lose weight through a number of means, but a large proportion of it will be hydration and water. And so the main strategies will be typical rehydration strategies with large amounts of salt, particularly to help retain that fluid, re-synthesizing the muscle glycogen that's been lost. That will naturally hold water within the muscle as well. And through those means, normally these athletes will recover most of the weight. Of course, some won't. Some will recover more. And when you look at the data that's out there, it's quite interesting to the averages aren't always huge for weight gain, but there are the anomalies that lose and or gain very substantial amounts of weight before and after weigh-ins. But there have also been health implications of that, and that kind of brings us to some of the potential health side of things with severe dehydration, and it does impair thermoregulation. And a lot of these athletes use exercise in the heat and things like that to promote sweating, and there can be life-threatening complications associated with that. There are, many athletes have been recorded as dying during the weight-making process. So it is a potentially very dangerous practice.
If you enjoyed that clip with Lewis and you want to enjoy even more, then YouTube has selected the best video for you to view, and it's going to put it around about here.